Welcome to Sabbath School Daily, where we have been studying from this lesson, Psalms. This week we're studying from lesson number 11, which has the title, Longing for God in Zion, and today is Monday's lesson, which has the title, Pray for the Peace of Jerusalem. Today's lesson revolves around Psalm chapter 122, and this is what the lesson opens by saying. Psalm 122 expresses the pilgrims' excitement upon their arrival at Jerusalem. The pilgrimages to Jerusalem were joyful occasions when God's people joined together 3 times during the year to commemorate God's goodness toward them in the past and present. Jerusalem was the center of the nation's life because it contained the testimony of Israel and the thrones for judgment. The testimony of Israel refers to the sanctuary that was at times called the Tabernacle of the Testimony and contained the Ark of the Testimony. The thrones set for judgment depict the judicial system in Jerusalem. Pilgrimage was thus the time when one could seek and obtain justice. Faithfulness to God and administering justice to people were never to be separated. So in addition to worshiping God by going to the sanctuary, going to worship, it was also a moment where the people sought justice, where cases were brought, where thrones were put up, and there was justice and judgment that was administered to the people throughout whatever they were going through. And so we see that worshiping God at the sanctuary also had the connotation of seeking justice, because God is a God of love and a God of justice. He is a God of praise, of majesty, of greatness, and because he is all that, he is also the judge of the earth, and he imparts that judgment to us as well. Look at what Psalm 122 has to say about this moment of going up to Jerusalem to worship God together. It says, I was glad when they said to me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Our feet have been standing within your gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built as a city that is compact together, where the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, to the testimony of Israel, to give thanks to the name of the Lord. For thrones are set there for judgment, the thrones of the house of David. This has to do with what we were talking about before, the fact that they're going up to worship God, but also to seek justice, to seek righteous judgment. The lesson then continues by commenting on Psalm 122, verse 6 through 9, that says the following, Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. Peace be within your walls, prosperity within your palaces. For the sake of my brethren and companions, I will now say, Peace be within you. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good. And so goodness was imparted as they went up to Jerusalem to praise and to seek justice. It was a positive moment for all as they went up together in a collective worship ceremony to the Lord. These 3 times that they would go to Jerusalem as a congregation together. The lesson then continues by saying the following, Praying for the peace of Jerusalem invokes God's blessings upon the city and its inhabitants, and it unites the worshipers, causing peace to spread among them. Jerusalem could be the city of peace only if peace existed between God and his people, and among God's children themselves. Thus, prayer for the peace of Jerusalem conveys an appeal to God's people to live in peace with God and one another. In Jerusalem's peace, the people will prosper. The name of the city itself means city of peace, Yerushalom, the city of peace. But as the lesson pointed out, the only way that these people could actually have peace in their city is if they had peace with God and with each other. And throughout the history of Israel, unfortunately, they were so disconnected from God so much of the time that they were then disconnected from themselves. And Jerusalem was, in fact, the opposite of a city of peace. The city of peace that had been destroyed and rebuilt more than 30 times at this point. And so it is sadly ironic, the city that has been called the city of peace, but that has suffered so much throughout history because precisely of their distance from God. We see that in the historical record over and over and over again. The secret to their success only occurred when they were close to God. They were then close to each other, and they had peace. The lesson then says, the psalm teaches us that the prayer for the well-being of the community of faith should be the main subject of the prayers of God's children, because only the strong and united people of God can proclaim the good tidings of God's peace and salvation to the world. Praying for the peace of Jerusalem is still a privilege and responsibility of the believers because it keeps alive the hope in the end time coming of God's kingdom of peace, which will embrace not only the city of Jerusalem, but the whole world. And so as we look and pray for the peace of Jerusalem, as we find here in the Bible, the worldwide prayer is for the coming of God's great kingdom. Because here, friends, in this world, on this side of eternity, that will not be found. That peace In the world, it will not be found. It might be found among God's people because God grants a peace that surpasses all understanding, but in the world at large, we are truly waiting for the end time. We're waiting for Jesus' second coming, which is the only thing that will fix this mess that we live in today. So as you study your lesson, dwell on these thoughts, read the Psalms, especially here Psalm 122, which is today's Psalm, and I'm sure that will inspire you when it comes to the life of peace that the Lord wants us to have. Please remember to comment down below. I love hearing from you, and also remember to like, to share, and to subscribe to our videos. We release one every day, and I hope to see you again here tomorrow for another Sabbath School Daily.